I'd like to preface this video by explaining that I'll be dedicating my time with this YouTube channel to help other people out there, like me, who are struggling to quit this terribly addictive substance and hopefully overcome their addiction. I would kindly ask you to subscribe, but if you're anything like me, you're currently in a state of withdrawal from caffeine and can barely move. So please, all I ask is that you listen, and I'll do my best to make the storytelling and the ideas worthwhile. Can you even imagine a life without caffeine? I'm not talking about quitting caffeine for a few months while being tired every day and eventually going back to it. I mean to ask, can you imagine waking up in the morning having full energy and not needing an addictive substance to get your day started? Can you imagine taking a walk in the woods and truly appreciating the beauty of nature without espresso being absorbed into your bloodstream? I grew up as an imaginative and adventurous boy, but looking back, I was always amped up by caffeinated soda. In time, I'd become known as the impulsive one in the family, with the habit of always getting myself into trouble and outright stupid situations. I can remember more moments where I acted on spontaneity rather than rationalization. As an adult, more decisions would seem to be made out of sheer disparity rather than thoughtful decision-making. I sit here now and I wonder, was there ever a time in my life where I didn't need caffeine or didn't have some sort of caffeine dependency? Even in the many attempts I've made to quit over the years, I've never lasted long enough off the drug to have any sort of eccentricity or natural desire for adventure return to me. I write this to you now as a person who's only ever known enslavement to caffeine. Good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel on quitting caffeine, or video series, storytelling, whatever you'd like to call it. To give a quick introduction of myself, I've been a caffeine junkie for a long time. At the time of this writing, I'm now coming up on 20 years of constant caffeine consumption, excluding maybe a handful of weeks where I've managed to quit temporarily. My birthday is this month, and I wanted to give myself the gift of freedom from caffeine. While I can write at great lengths on alcoholism and nicotine addiction, caffeine has always been the most challenging addiction for me to stop. It would seem no matter how many times I quit, something would always bring me back. Now, I'm not going to begin this narrative explaining to you that I'm the type of person only having a single cup of coffee each morning. No, it was not that simple. To be quite honest, it's almost embarrassing how deeply rooted caffeine had embedded itself into my life. Can a person build a personality off of caffeine habits? Perhaps in my younger years. But if there was ever a candidate for such a person, then I'd be your guy. I drank a lot of coffee. And not just coffee, caffeine pills, energy drinks, tea. I was the guy who had his morning fix, then went to the grocery store for a large jug of iced coffee or cold brew and drank the entire thing before lunch. I knew I wanted to quit. I've known this for a long time. It was Sunday evening, September 7th, 2025, when I was lying in bed, couldn't sleep. As my mind pondered on what the next major project in my life would be, I suddenly had the thought, what if I could just finally quit? What if I said, screw this crap, and be done with the drug once and for all? And I became excited at the prospect. The irony was I was only excited and wide awake in bed because I had consumed so much coffee that day and well into the afternoon. By some miracle, the next morning, despite my dependency on caffeine to function, I held on to my conviction. That day, I decided to consume only a single caffeine pill and a cup of black tea. That's 200 milligrams in the pill, followed by whatever amount was in the tea. It was enough to get me through the day, and I was exhausted by 2 p.m. and ready for bed by 6. The next day, I took one of my special order 50 milligram caffeine pills and had a single cup of black instant coffee. Only a guy like me would have specially made 50 milligram caffeine pills, I thought. A few days later, on September 10th, I was exhausted. I wanted to be done with the drug. However, I still had a bar of 90% dark chocolate in my kitchen cabinet that I wanted to finish before giving up caffeine for good. Not sure how much caffeine is actually in chocolate, but it was enough to get me through that day, and that would be my last caffeine ever, a bar of chocolate. Later events that would transpire on that exact same day would give me the strength and hope to finally be done once and for all. So my last day having caffeine was Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Part of me knew deep down if I could finally quit, then maybe I'd muster up the courage to become a voice willing to speak out against caffeine addiction and help others in a world where it's commonplace. As I went to bed that first night, having only consumed a single bar of chocolate's worth of caffeine, I thought to myself, how cool would it be to start a YouTube channel about quitting caffeine or coffee? After all, listening to other people share their stories about how they quit caffeine, it always helped me. Yeah, that sounds good. And it would also help keep me accountable. I knew if I started making videos on quitting, I would only dishonor myself and anyone else who listens if I go back. The funny thing is, on the first few days of quitting, I didn't have any motivation or energy to start writing or producing a video. Still, I thought about it. Who would my target audience be? What is the demographic for these types of videos on quitting caffeine? Well, if you guys are anything like me, you're probably thinking about quitting caffeine very soon, or you're stuck in bed and crippled by the withdrawal because you've already made the decision to finally quit. And chances are, you're listening to as many heartfelt stories and lessons from other people on YouTube who've also quit caffeine and have taken the time to share their struggles as well. Okay, so what would be the purpose of such a channel? I asked myself. Well, we're looking for validation, aren't we? We definitely have a sense of intrinsic motivation, knowing that our decision to quit this horribly addictive substance is justified, and it is an awfully destructive decision. Have you ever tried working a full-time job while quitting caffeine? It can put your entire life at a standstill. Still, given how normalized caffeine is in our society, it helps to seek external validation and justification from others. No, you're not foolish for putting yourself through this pain and making yourself more tired than you've ever been, unable to perform your normal everyday duties. In our moments of weakness and misery, we need to be reminded that our decisions are indeed the correct ones. After all, we are social beings. So if you've been lying in bed all day with a crippling headache, fatigue, lack of motivation, apathy, mild depression, and possibly back pain, then you've come to the right place. I would not buy drugs from a drug dealer who doesn't sample his own product, and I wouldn't listen to a drug rehabilitation counselor who has never known the pain of addiction. One thing I've noticed with these quitting caffeine videos on YouTube, typically they're one-offs. A lot of smaller to medium-sized bloggers or vloggers and content creators will have channels sharing various aspects of their lives. Then, occasionally, they'll produce a video sharing their own story on how they quit caffeine. Those videos will see a large number of views as they cater to a very specific audience. That would be people like us. I've wanted to create a YouTube channel myself for a long time, but I never knew what I'd write about. I certainly wasn't going to start producing content for content's sake. I'd written for projects before, but wasn't about to start writing for something that wasn't important to me. I'd been a generalist before, covering various topics specific to my own interests, and that never seemed to serve me or my audience. But caffeine addiction, I'd go so far as to call myself an expert on the matter. I'd be to caffeine what Rick James is to cocaine. So I knew if I was going to pursue this, I was going to stick to the subject matter of caffeine and caffeine addiction, with the goal of helping others to also quit. I'll very likely have a chance to speak on alcohol and tobacco products too, as these drugs are often used together. But caffeine is something I can go on about all day long, especially if I've had a pot of coffee. So I have the demographic. Thank you for listening, by the way. I have the goal of relating my struggles with caffeine to others, that's you, and helping to reinforce our decision to finally quit. And I know that'll only be a one-hit wonder if I only ever produce a single video about quitting caffeine. In that case, it sounds like this project will be formulaic in nature. It's a bit silly, because I know once people finally get through the withdrawal process, they generally stop watching these sorts of videos. So I guess the channel will be a transient sort of place. Viewers will come, stay a while, then continue on their journeys once they're healed. Hell, it'll be like a methadone clinic. Or maybe comparing it to a medieval inn will be more welcoming. Unfortunately, I know some of you adventurers will be coming back given enough time. Lord knows I was. I can't even tell you how many times I've quit caffeine. And when I did, I would always hunt down those videos that helped me most. Videos I'd already seen years before. And if some of you decide to stick around for the long haul, then I'd be happy to have you. Why bother even mentioning the thought process behind creating a channel? Why not just shut the hell up and share my story, am I right? My point is to say, I see you, I understand you. If you're thinking about quitting or suffering indescribable pain and withdrawal, I've been there before, many times. Even if you're still consuming caffeine and haven't yet made the decision to quit, you could still be suffering. You might be lying down wide awake in bed right now, asking yourself when you're finally going to get off the stuff. Or maybe you have anxiety. I never considered myself anxious, but looking back, caffeine always made everything feel like a fight. Anyway, when I'm suffering in bed from withdrawal and feel like an idiot for quitting a powerful drug that most of society dismisses as harmless, I need to know that my decision was the correct one, because it's a very painful and enduring decision to make, and anything worthwhile is never easy. Everyone drinks coffee, everyone consumes caffeine. Maybe I'm the one who's crazy for thinking it's all that dangerous. Maybe I should just go back to decaf, or try to control myself. Maybe I'm the one with the problem who simply needs to moderate his consumption. Anything would be preferable to this painful withdrawal. But I tell you, the path to freedom is a difficult one, but it is worth it. I guess I can start by telling my story. Like I said before, I'm not here to tell you that I lived my life drinking only a single cup of coffee per day. That's normal behavior. 400 to 800 milligrams of caffeine per day, sometimes up to 1,000, was my sweet spot for the longest time. In my earliest days of drinking caffeine, I remember the summer going into my senior year of high school. I had a few dollars and was hanging out with this cute goth chick, walking around the busy suburban town, or was it a city? We went to Dunkin' Donuts and split an extra large coffee with cream and sugar. I was 17 years old, and the caffeine had us both hyped and ecstatic. We continued to explore the town, then hang out at her place and play Resident Evil. In another instance, I remember staying up all night, even though I had school in the morning. I remember going to school without having slept. I managed this by taking small bits of freeze-dried instant coffee from a small glass container labeled Maxwell House. I remember what a punk I thought I was. My grades were still good, yet I could afford to make all these bad decisions. Then, on my 18th birthday, I was gifted a 24 case of Monster energy drinks. Around this time, Monster was becoming very popular. Energy drinks were still fairly new. But at the cost of $2 for a black can with a green letter M label, it wasn't the cheapest commodity to obtain. That case of energy drinks powered me through some fun and creative endeavors during that final year of school. I still have some of the artwork 20 years later. Paired with drinking beer, vodka, and smoking cigarettes, caffeine would keep a teenager partying well into the night. I don't think any of us expected to live past the age of 30. In fact, I'm certain that if I continue this channel, I'll definitely write about some of the experiences I had with drugs and alcohol when I was 18. Skip forward a couple of years into my first full-time job. That place was miserable. Imagine working a full-time job as an unskilled laborer from 6 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. That's 8 hours, plus a mandatory unpaid hour of wasting time while stuck at work. But the energy drinks and coffee made it bearable. My best friend and I would work the same shift, drink energy drinks all day long, and then, believe it or not, head to the coffee shop for a caffeinated sugar bomb after work, fully knowing we needed to be in bed early to possibly wake up the next morning. We were destroying our sleep with caffeine without realizing it. Caffeine is only in the system for 4 hours, right? That was the common knowledge as we understood it, not knowing how long it actually stayed in our systems. It got so bad, my friend went to a doctor who prescribed him a powerful medication that would render him unconscious for several hours. As he described it, he took his dose of trazodone and sat down while watching the clock, waiting for it to kick in. He didn't feel tired at all and slowly waited for the drugs to work. The next thing he knew, he woke up several hours later. He described the drug as scary and not like falling asleep. And these drugs would eventually cause him to miss work and get fired. How nefarious, considering all the doctor needed to do was ask him to lay off the caffeine. Although, none of us understood this until years later. Looking back at this now is another reason I'm working to get into the medical field. Doctors have proven to me to be some of the stupidest people I know. Now, I've done some pretty stupid things in my life, and I expect I'll fit right in. Assuming I make it that far, time will tell, it always does. After quitting that soul-sucking job, I sought to work part-time in a coffee shop so I could focus on finishing college. This was back when Caribou Coffee was still in Illinois. Fortunately for me, I landed my dream job at the Caribou kiosk in the mall. I suddenly had access to unlimited drip coffee and espresso. I loved that job in the little coffee shop in the center of the mall. I would often show up an hour early just to grab myself a delicious freshly brewed coffee. They always had something different brewing each day too, and I would walk around the mall in high spirits as the caffeine kicked in and filled my mind with excitement and appreciation. I'd walk back to the kiosk and get a refill and continue walking the mall until it was time to start my shift. I felt invincible as the coffee kicked in. Paired with walking, the intoxication was absolutely wonderful. Probably smoked a cigarette too. I have a lot I could say about working at Caribou Coffee, and I'll probably tell some of those stories eventually. But let's skip forward in time to more recent years. Here I am working at a computer, a desk job, a career as one would call it. It would seem those courses I took at the community college had paid off. Wake up every day, can't do anything productive until caffeine enters my bloodstream, and every day has been as follows. Wake up, immediately consume caffeine, get second helping of caffeine. Within an hour, caffeine intoxication begins to take effect. Within 45 minutes, I begin to feel on top of the world. And for the first 2 hours of that day, I'd be most productive and excited about life. But about 11 o'clock or noon, I'd start to feel anxious. Any more coffee consumption would not produce a rush of dopamine or serotonin, and would only contribute to the great sense of cabin fever and anxiety one gains from being stuck at a computer all day. It would make me think, was it the effect of caffeine causing me to feel great in the morning, or simply the alleviation of withdrawal caused by caffeine? Then, by 1 or 2 p.m., the choice would be either to consume more caffeine or face a crash of body, mind, and spirit. Some days, I would opt for the crash, which would leave me exhausted for the rest of the day, but allow me to get a decent night of sleep come bedtime. Other days, I would mitigate the crash by drinking more caffeine, which would keep me alert for the remainder of the day, but result in a terrible sleep, making me wish I'd chosen the other option every time. That's okay. I can simply drink more caffeine in the morning to make up for the bad sleep. Some mornings, you just need to brute force it. You drink as much coffee as it takes for your body, mind, and spirits to rise back up from the dead. Essentially, you show your body and the coffee who's boss. Wow, writing this now, I've become even more compelled to choose the path to freedom. Is this pattern starting to sound familiar to you? I've lived this trap for 20 years. 20 of them. What age am I now? After a while, you stop counting and you have to do math. I'm not quite 40 yet. Anyway, so let's talk about this trap. Starting from the bottom, then working our way back to the top, then back to the bottom. It's late, maybe 1 a.m. at night. You're still wide awake, even though you chose to go to bed hours ago. Man, I wish I was one of those people that could just instantly fall asleep. You think to yourself. You manage to fall asleep and maybe wake up an hour later for a bit. About an hour goes by and you finally fall asleep again. For real this time. You wake up several times throughout the night, but you otherwise got an almost full night of sleep. Wow, almost 8 hours of sleep, you exclaim, even though you woke up several times throughout the night. You think nothing of this as you wake up tired. That's okay. The sense of exhaustion can be extinguished simply by consuming your favorite caffeinated drink of choice. Some quack on YouTube suggests waiting a while before consuming any caffeine, as if that would help. Not practical to your productivity, you disregard that random guy's advice entirely and proceed to hit the caffeine first thing. And not very much happens until maybe 5 or 15 minutes after you've started consuming the caffeine. You finally decide, okay, time to start getting some work done. You get a few things done and start to really feel good about it. Man, today's gonna be a good day, you think to yourself as you start knocking out emails and small tasks. While the caffeine simultaneously absorbs into your bloodstream, everything feels great. And now you're envisioning your life in the future for about 2 hours. Then the pattern is exactly as I had previously described. Anxious by the 3rd hour, exhausted by the 4th, then faced with the difficult decision of being exhausted for the rest of the day with the prospect of decent sleep, or being rejuvenated by more caffeine with the prospect of playing Russian roulette with your sleep for the entire night. By 6 p.m., you're done with work and don't really feel like doing anything. Man, what happened to all the energy I used to have when I was a child? How did we do it back in the 90s or 2000s or whatever decade you grew up in? Then, with great audacity, you lie in bed exhausted and ready to knock out, only for your body to laugh at you as you stare hopelessly at the ceiling wide awake. It's 1 a.m. now. Please, I need to go to sleep. Hopefully, I can fall asleep at the top of the hour, so by 2 o'clock, I should be sleeping. Okay, still awake. Better browse my phone or computer. Maybe I'll be asleep by 3? And since I am awake, I'll just keep looking at my phone. I actually intended to write more about this, being caught in this trap, but was so exhausted, I put the laptop away. Reading it again now, I'm more inclined to not return. Honestly, I've had a lifetime's worth of caffeine, energy drinks, tea, caffeine pills, coffee. I don't miss them. The only thing I truly miss is having that instant alertness first thing in the morning so I can start my day. Do normal people who aren't addicted to caffeine wake up on their own fumes? Wait a minute. Most normal people are addicted to caffeine. It's the odd ones who don't partake. That's us. Do these odd, strange people wake up full of energy without consuming any drugs at all? I guess I'll figure that out with enough time. Monday, September 22nd. It's now been 12 days since I quit caffeine. I had to stop typing whatever I was writing before, as I was too tired and having trouble articulating the point I set out to make. I was convinced whatever I had written was terrible and not worth telling, but I guess it turned out decent. Today is especially awful. Mondays generally are. I'm still waiting for the motivation and excitement to return to me. I used to wake up tired and get a big burst of energy from caffeine. Now I just wake up tired and I stay that way. It's concerning because the headaches and the physical symptoms are all behind me. Now I'm just faced with a chronic lack of motivation, which to me is the worst symptom of them all. Does that ever return? I don't know yet. As I sit here, I begin to realize the old ways in which I'd been living my life are no longer relevant. You see, being a caffeinated, impulsive junkie had allowed me to establish a great number of projects and get me out of my boring lifestyle when I quit drinking a few years ago. I used to hate where I was and who I was in my life. I felt like I had been living an otherwise mundane and average existence. But then I quit drinking alcohol, and in that time, I found a much higher paying job in my career, started a cash flowing business with my best friend, became a volunteer at the church, and even decided to return to school. It would take a while to explain all the projects I started when I quit drinking, but one thing is becoming clear to me: the time for offense is done. I spent 4 years of sobriety throwing crap at the wall and seeing what stuck. I made a lot of impulsive choices and had built a life for myself, shooting first and aiming later. I love the life I've built for myself now, but like any great kingdom, now is the time to hold. Caffeine would have me stuck on establishing new frontiers and new plans and great big projects in the future, but I don't need these because I'm no longer living an empty, unfulfilled life. I have a sense of purpose now, and this endless inclination to keep stacking on new projects is proving to be a great affliction, and I knew it needed to stop. It is clear to me that in my constantly caffeinated state, I've been chasing so many new and exciting opportunities in my life that the things I've already had are starting to fall by the wayside. Some of the projects I haven't had time for, others I have outright neglected. My sensibility and budgeting ability included, to name a few. Funny, I can think to myself as I sit here mentally exhausted and not giving much a damn about anything. And I wanted to start a YouTube channel? Well, yes, I would like to start a channel to help others quit caffeine and also hold myself accountable. It doesn't need to be some grandiose adventure like all my other ideas. It could even serve as an outlet for me in these trying times, a means of journaling, if you will. After all, if there were an expert who could speak on the unyielding nature of caffeine addiction, I would probably be one of the best candidates. I know that I already explained this earlier. Just know that I'm tired now, too tired to care about starting any new projects. I don't want any new projects. I'm tired of chasing dopamine. I want some damn serotonin and actual joy in my life. Dopamine would keep us excited about the future, like a carrot on a stick, never leaving us to embrace the moment, never giving us a moment of peace. Which reminds me, I'll need to make a video detailing the differences between dopamine, the neurotransmitter that drives you to seek reward, and serotonin, and the other neurotransmitters which actually give you a sense of joy. See, what did I say? Too many projects in the pipeline, too many grandiose ideas of things I'd like to do and accomplish. I've read and listened to a lot of books on health over the years and would love to share my findings as they relate to caffeine and my experiences. slipping through the cracks. Everything in life is slipping through the cracks. All things in life seem to be a series of projects, a series of new and exciting projects in a linear fashion. Maybe this describes the behavior of some of you. For as long as I can remember, I've always liked taking on new projects. I learn all I can about them, then completely and utterly exhaust the project inside and out until I can no longer stand it. Then I eventually move on to whatever new project excites me. And this behavior has served as both a blessing and a curse over the years. However, despite what success I've found in my life, thanks to this magical ability to focus fire my efforts, it's no secret that I also have the habit of letting things fall by the wayside. My wife can tell you all about this. In fact, I'll bet she has an entire list of things I'm supposed to be working on at this very moment. Things I don't even remember. I truly believe women are better at multitasking than men. Anyway, I spent the entire summer doing yard work. In fact, I spent almost every waking hour of free time working to landscape and build a beautiful estate. I've heard this referred to as type A personality. When I want something, I need to have it yesterday. Although, I always assumed type A personality people had their lives in working order. Is it really a personality type, or is it simply a caffeinated person behaving like a high-functioning caffeinated person does? Anyway, I planted countless trees and worked to build beautiful mulch beds, gardens, and a luscious green lawn. However, despite working non-stop around the clock outside of work and sleep, many of my other lively duties were being neglected. It began to feel like I was spinning my wheels. I'd finished a major project in the yard and would look around at everything I had built, then be motivated and inspired to build a new mulch bed or plant yet another tree. I quickly realized there was theoretically no end to the amounts of landscaping or gardening I could do, nor to the amount of money I could spend doing it. I had spent all of my discretionary income that summer in the yard. Up until then, I had neglected our yard for years, being too busy with other projects, and now I'd finally made it beautiful. But I still wasn't satisfied. My mind would never stop to feel any sense of joy. I only ever felt the dopaminergic urge to keep working and keep laboring away endlessly, even to the point of leaving my wife alone inside, only joining her when the sun had fully set and it was too dark to continue working outside. It was in one of those moments I started to question, maybe it's the caffeine. No matter what I do, I have to keep working. Why can't I sit down and enjoy this? Why is everything a fight? Why am I so anxious to keep working and getting things done? I'm not even an anxious person, but why can't I stop working? Now, 12 days off caffeine, I'm finally free of this endless trap. I don't want to take on any more projects. I'm done chasing dopamine. However, the problem now is I barely have the energy or the motivation to take on the responsibilities that I already have. For example, I'm the one who cooks, so the kitchen is my territory. For the last few years, taking care of the dishes and the counter and all that was something I always stayed on top of after a large dose of coffee. Lately, those dishes seem to stack up, waiting to be washed, but the time to wash them never seems to arise. Where did I always find time before then? Obviously, my behavior and my thinking has changed without the drug of caffeine in my system. It would seem washing those dishes no longer gives a sense of reward. Previously, I would wash the dishes and wipe down the kitchen counter and think to myself, hell yeah, the kitchen is spotless. Then again, I'm still going through a withdrawal. I tell you, no other drug that I know of is this powerful. How can a drug leave you as a shadow of your former self for this long? I can handle the headaches and the back pain, but to strip a man of his sense of duty and moral obligation is to emasculate him. How can I dare expect to serve and take care of others when I can't even take care of my own house? This sense of guilt is enough to drive me to consider returning to the drug. Isn't it funny? My life seemed to be falling apart because of caffeine, and now that I'm off the stuff, it's still falling apart. Oh well, I'll simply brute force the behavior until the sense of reward and fulfillment eventually returns. And I don't know if it will because I've never been off the drug for that long. The last time I was truly caffeine-free, I think I was a toddler with no responsibilities, and I have no recollection of it. So I haven't got the slightest clue as to what life could be like without this dependency. Some of the people on YouTube make it look incredibly easy, and I suspect they were only drinking a single cup of coffee per day. Amateurs. Even as I write this, I realize I'm simply procrastinating some work that I truly don't want to do, but I know it needs to get done. Oh well, that's part of being a man, or a woman. We must be strong and rise to the occasion. After all, the tired mother still tends to her baby, and a tired soldier continues to fight. Alright, I've just completed the work I needed to do. That was to fix the bathroom sink. You see, last night, just as I had fallen asleep for the night, dead tired from the withdrawal, mind you, my wife woke me up calling my name. She had dropped her wedding ring down the drain. I was very irritated as I'd finally managed to fall asleep. But I wasn't going to let her wedding ring sit in sewage. I promptly met her in her bathroom, angrily removed hordes of feminine clutter from inside the sink basin, and proceeded to deconstruct the P-trap under the sink. In my hurry to rescue the ring, black sewage spilled onto my hands and all inside the cabinet. I grabbed the deconstructed P-trap and tossed it into the bathtub. I dug through black water and gunk and recovered her wedding ring. Unfortunately, I was unable to properly reassemble the P-trap. I had misaligned the gaskets and the fittings, and despite how much I had tightened it, it sprayed water everywhere inside the bottom of the sink. I yelled, explaining that I won't be able to fix the sink that night. She thanked me for saving her wedding ring, and I quickly went back to sleep. Today, I finally got around to disassembling the P-trap and properly reassembling it with the help of sufficient time, space, and light. It also helped that I was in the correct state of mind. However, I felt guilty. I was yelling and I was swearing last night as I spilled raw sewage all over my hands. Not at my wife, but just out of frustration. And I thought, why did I have to freak out about it? Of course I didn't want to be wakened out of bed and rushed to be covered in raw sewage in the middle of the night. However, as I calmed down, I thought to myself, what if we had a daughter and she was in the bathroom with us while I was screaming? Would I have still yelled and swore loudly in a fit of anger in front of her? Of course not. So why is it okay to behave this way in front of my own wife? I know better than this. While I take accountability for my actions, I'm also going to blame the withdrawal. I'm not myself lately. I have no energy. I'm irritable. I didn't give a damn about anything. So I'm blaming the damn caffeine. And though I'm tired of everything, this only motivates me further to stay off the stuff. I blame caffeine for all these problems, and I blame myself for consuming the caffeine. So, how long does a video like this need to be? Shouldn't a video like this typically have a beginning, middle, and end? I suppose that would be so if I were just any other vlogger, delivering slice-of-life content. As I said before, such content creators will generally release a one-off video about their journey quitting caffeine. and those would often end up being the only videos of theirs that I'd ever watch. However, my little series of videos has only begun, and even if 10 or 20 minutes of my story has gone by, you still haven't recovered yet. That is to say, the headaches, the fatigue, the backaches surely haven't subsided yet. And we know the fatigue, the mild depression, and the lack of enthusiasm carries on for much, much longer than the initial symptoms. I could very well end this story here and continue onward into the next video. And ending it sooner than later might be a good idea, as my ability to write and articulate my ideas are absolutely impaired. I'm supposed to be telling my story about quitting caffeine, but looking back, it would appear I skipped all the way to day 12 before I could start writing. And I failed to properly give you a timeline of my own withdrawal. So I'll be sure to go back and write about that in my next video. I'll also have a chance to incorporate notes that I had left myself in previous attempts to quit caffeine. Fortunately, I've been writing for a long time. I had a YouTube channel many years ago and used to love writing. I found the process both soothing and rewarding. However, I was always drinking alcohol every time I would write, so I'd often be fairly intoxicated by the time I finished a video. When I quit drinking, I stopped writing. And now, without any caffeine, I find the process is especially difficult. Where is the surge of dopamine that comes with storytelling? Where is the sense of fulfillment that comes from putting a piece of yourself into words? Do people only enjoy creative works of art when they're consuming drugs? How did Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel if coffee hadn't been introduced to Italy yet? Can Stephen King even write a novel without cocaine? Surely that can't possibly be the case. I think this situation only serves to show just how addicting these drugs can be. I'm sure the act of writing will one day have a dopaminergic process once again, for me anyway. It's just going to take time, but I am almost 2 weeks in and I still feel fairly awful. And to think I've still got to record and edit this eventually. Oh well. I will see you in the next video. If you're currently in pain, please hang in there. Feel free to share your suffering in the comments, as you're not alone. Yeah, it's just caffeine, a drug that most people consume daily. Who cares, right? But just because everyone is consuming it doesn't mean it's not a powerful substance that is very, very difficult to quit. There are many people out there who wish they could face this caffeine addiction, and we face this struggle together. They don't make rehab clinics for caffeine, where you can simply take off 4 weeks of work and put your life on pause to recover. That doesn't exist. Many of us here have duties and obligations we must tend to while facing this challenge. I know your pain. I'm not going to pretend this is as easy as it sounds, because if it were simply a matter of choosing not to put caffeine in your system, you would have quit by now. The decision to quit can be instantaneous, but to know freedom from this powerfully addictive substance is going to take time. Having said that, I do hope you'll spend some of that time with me.